Welcome back to Dandrew, everybody. Oh. Today we're talking about a quiet place.
Let's come to the first ASMR episode of Dandrew.
Yeah.
So, this is
We want you to enjoy the review.
Oh, no. So, obviously, we wanted to switch to one angle for this one.
Yeah.
So that people get the idea of not having multiple senses.
Exactly.
Well, I guess you have all the senses, but they have to be heightened.
Well, one character doesn't have
Yeah.
multiple senses.
That's true. So, Dan,
Yes.
what did we think of A Quiet Place, starring John Krasinski and his
directed
wife?
by him, actually.
And directed by him, that's right. And I believe Emily Blunt was just acting. I don't think... Did she have anything to do with the story?
I believe she was just an actress.
Okay.
in this.
Well, she did a great job, by the way, because my God, did you feel stressed? Mm-hmm. This entire picture
God.
is just...
You could
the whole time.
It was...
Oh.
There was so much tension, you could cut it with a knife.
You could cut it with a dull knife. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better analogy.
But
my
point being,
goodness.
there's a lot going on here.
There's hardly any comic relief in A Quiet Place.
There's like...
Maybe
think
one scene.
I can think of one scene, yeah, where... Because there's one point where... First of all, a little bit of backstory. Which we don't get very much in this movie. And that's not inherently a bad thing, because it's very much a boots-on-the-ground kind of film.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's following a family somewhere along a coastline somewhere, I believe. I think it is, anyway.
Well, some kind of farmland.
Some
rural
farmland.
area.
Rural.
They have a light town, but not like a giant city. It's not like I Am Legend kind of city. It's just kind of small town area. And
But anyway, there's been some kind
the
of
movie
like...
starts off way after the incident.
There's been some kind of invasion by these alien creatures, and they're like...
Or mutant. We have no idea.
We don't know.
Yeah.
They're super fast. They're super strong. They have extremely good hearing. Like, they can hear just normal talking volume probably from several miles away.
They could make a jackrabbit sound like a 96-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
With a failed hearing aid. They can just like... They have their skull basically opens up, which you don't see till later. We should mention the creatures, the beings of whatever sort, whether they're mutant or alien.
You don't really get a good picture of them until like the last third of this film.
Which is kind of Shyamalan-y. Just kind of like not really showing, just getting...
It adds to the terror.
Bits and pieces. But they definitely demonstrate the horror of it in the first scene, basically. Mm-hmm. Just by like this little kid grabbing a toy that they want to play with. And it, of course, is one of those sound maker kind of spaceship that go...
Right.
And just that alone, they come running full sprint.
And there's like...
Pretty terrifying.
It's extremely terrifying. Yeah. And it's just like... It puts you on edge to the point where when they actually do speak at normal volume, you're just like,
Right.
Don't do that.
There's very little... We should tell people it's not like the entire movie is quiet. In fact, the soundtrack does a major role while adding noise to the picture. It's not just like an hour and a half of...
Yeah.
That's kind of what the trailer makes it out to be. There's a lot of music. There's some light talking later.
There's some extremely light talking. Like, the bulk of this movie is told in sign language.
Right. Most of it. Subtitled sign language. Yeah.
It's just... Anyway, I'm trying to think of what else to say about it, because it's...
We like it.
We like it a lot.
It's good. Let's get that
I would say it's in the same league as something like Arrival. Where it feels... As someone who hasn't read a lot of really old but still groundbreaking sci-fi stuff, this makes me think of something like that. Like a really simple idea for a kind of science fiction plot that, for some reason or another, we haven't seen it. And this is a completely original work, by the way.
That we know of.
We
did a little bit of looking, and it doesn't appear to be based on any book.
It says it's based off a
film
story, but the story was like written by the screenplay was written by the same people who did the story.
This was a story built for a picture.
Yeah, exactly.
This was not built as a book originally and then translated over. Exactly. So we wanted to give points to this movie for originality. There's not a lot of movies that come out that are not based on anything. Whether they're a reboot or a sequel, nearly 90% of Hollywood movies now are all just reiterations or additions to pre-existing entities. But so we're happy that this is its own thing.
Yeah, this seems to be the only thing. And actually, this has a one-up on Arrival, because Arrival was actually based off a book.
That's right. I was going to bring that up. Arrival was not a purely original. Still a great movie, but not a purely original story.
And it's just... I think it's one thing when your actors and whatnot can connect to the audience through... like just dialogue and acting, but this is a lot more subtle than that, because we don't have a lot of stuff. It's all very much a visual performance, because there's not a whole lot you can say, otherwise these things will kill you. So
that's kind of the thing about John Krasinski I've noticed after The Office. All the parts he picks are like really not very vocal. like in 13 Hours he's in it, but he doesn't talk a whole lot. He's just kind of straightforward. And in this, it's like, well, you can't talk
because you will die.
Because you will die. But yeah, we wanted to talk about how, like, the idea of aliens that can't see but have ultra sensitive hearing.
Yeah,
that's not a new type of sci-fi.
It's not a new type,
but this is a new approach to it. Like the one that comes to mind is Alien for us. I think
the xenomorph is probably. That's kind of the only one I can think of off the top of my head that's like really well known in film canon and whatnot.
You guys can
you can just spam us with other stuff. Go
pitching the idea of a monster that's blind but can hear you. That's not unheard of.
And this does it when it does show like how it does this thing. Like it shows it like this one. You just think it's one side of its head opening up to uncover like this really super delicate ear that.
That was interesting.
That was extremely interesting.
They have they can adjust the amount of sound they're getting in, and when they're really searching for something, they would provide that close up of that ear opening up.
And not only that, but then you see this thing like in an enclosed space towards the end, and you see like not only is it like one ear, it's like several covering its entire head.
Yeah, it's basically the whole skull opens up
and the whole
and like moves around depending on where the noise is coming from.
Where is it?
Its whole brain is an ear, essentially, which I thought was creative. And on top of that, I'd say the difference, because I do see your like similarities with Arrival in this. I think the difference in plot structure would be Arrival is people living out their lives, and the plot is about this new creature or presence
having to just
arrived.
Done.
Yeah, but this one is they've already been here,
and now they have to
we've already lost
their
the world,
entire lives.
and the whole plot isn't about that conversion process. You don't get to see like what life was like before. There's not even flashback.
It just drops you right in the middle of a hellscape.
Yeah, they just drop you. I think the first text to the screen is like day 50 or something.
Day 89.
89. Yeah, it's like so 3 months after the big incident, which you never see. There's not even a reference or flashback other than just like newspaper clippings.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's the less is more kind of idea.
And it also kind of like one of the characters. And another thing, none of the characters say a name in this. You just kind of.
Their names are listed in the credits,
but you never hear one.
They never refer to themselves by name, which is, I mean, that's fine. You know who you're referring to, but yeah, it's kind of complicated when you're talking about the character. Like the deaf chick and the young boy and Jim and Emily Blunt. You know, that's how people will probably review it.
I can only think of one other movie that only had like a handful of characters, and I don't even remember their names.
Okay,
but it was a movie called Tape. It had Ethan Hawke, Uma Thurman, and I can't remember his name.
Well, what's
the guy from House, not Hugh Laurie.
Okay, yeah. I know who you're referring to.
Yeah.
But like, what's interesting is even when movies do that, it seems to work pretty well, though. As we're about to find out with Infinity War, how adding as many characters as possible may not be the best idea.
Yay.
But this is the polar opposite of that, when there is solely like 6 actors in the whole movie.
Ugh.
And I like the world building. You know, we just talked about Ready Player One, and I don't care that people disagreed or it was a decisive movie for the public. Exactly. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people didn't. We happen to fall into the boat of we don't see the imagination here.
Exactly.
This just feels like a scrapbook.
But then this gets plopped in our lap, and it's like, oh damn, someone thought about this.
They thought the sand thing is not even something I would have considered. Mm-hmm. Like in a world where you have to be as quiet as possible, this family they don't ever, hardly ever, with a few exceptions, they hardly ever walk anywhere that's not on this primary trail of sand.
Exactly.
There's just this like sand line that they I don't know where they get it, but they've.
Well, then they're a coastline. That's what I was saying.
That's true. So they're laying it all out. That way they walk barefoot everywhere. The leaves don't crackle.
Exactly.
They walk softly, which is just like, again, it's universe building. It's like if you were to survive in this universe, this is something you'd have to get used to.
Right.
And they build things are soft and things are not too loud. Like they don't have dinner plates. Mm-mm. They eat off of leaves. And it was just like, there was thought put into this.
Yeah.
There was some actual creativity, like, here's how this universe would work.
I still want to, like, there's one point because, as you said before, one of the characters is deaf.
Right.
And there's this whole thing going on where John Krasinski is trying to fix the hearing, like, I assume she had a cochlear put in at some point because it's like a magnet on the head, but she still has it in there. He's been trying to figure this out over the course of, like, over a year, something like that.
It's been a year and a half or so.
It's been a year and a half, exactly. And he's still trying to figure it out, but for some reason, he's not sure. No one knows what he did, but the frequency is still there. But as time goes on, we find out that this frequency is something that these things can hear.
Right.
And they hate it.
Yes, it's the off-putting sound.
It's physically painful to them. It's like a dog whistle, but on steroids, basically.
Right, and it's like ultrasonic for the most part until she starts finicking with it.
And they don't really figure this out like right off the bat until the very end, which I think is a really a pretty smart idea.
Yeah.
But once they do figure it out, like they're able to turn.
They found the weakness.
They found the weakness,
which is what the big whiteboard. I thought that was a little simplistic, but I got what they were going for. Like the Jim. I'm just gonna call him Jim because they didn't give me a character name. So Jim has developed this whiteboard in the basement. And it's like so they had like 3 things written down. It was like blind, can hear really well, or something along that sound, and then the next one is armor. And I thought they may have touched more on that later, but they really didn't. But it was basically saying that they're pretty tough. They're not like strong creatures. I mean, they're very strong creatures,
but they're not. They're not easy to take down as well.
Yes. Yeah. Their point being is they're like incredibly strong, fast, and agile.
Yeah.
And then on the side, it's like weakness ? They're just trying to find what to do.
They're trying to figure out how to kill one.
And what's interesting is like in the first shot, because they give you quick glimpses of it, I thought it looked kind of like a spider or something because it's a very like long-legged creature.
Yeah.
Very disturbing, by the way. Got to give credit for that. It's kind of like
it was a really nicely designed.
Yes. And they give lots of close-ups on it later in the movie, and really, really intricate detail. But then later, when they show you those close-ups, they show you the head of it and the ears, and just overall, really,
it's very
creatively thought of. Right.
It's like bare bones, minimalistic, but it stands out really well.
Kind of insect-like.
Yeah.
Like exoskeleton, but with the ear thing. So. I was concerned that a movie with like little to no dialogue would be boring or like not captivating, but this
was extremely captivating.
It keeps you captivated by fear, which is don't watch this as like a casual just throw a movie on.
No, this movie's terrifying.
Yeah, it's like not on top of that, but like it gets into the Home Alone type stuff where the mom Emily Blunt's pregnant.
Yeah, she's giving birth in the middle of...
as soon as she was writing the due date on the calendar, I was like, oh, a baby. That's gotta be annoying. When, like, you're in a situation where everyone has to be as quiet as possible and you're about to bring in a human that's going to cry without reason.
Oh, baby's early.
Right. That's right. And the due date was early. So many things line up at once between the nail sticking up out of the staircase, her water breaking, and then and then the creatures start coming, and it's like, so much is going wrong. It's very tough to watch, but I'm interested though. Like I'm really into it.
It is extremely interesting.
Yeah. So we we've established what we like. Mm-hmm. What are some things, Dan, you weren't as into?
The only thing I didn't really like was, and this is a minor gripe because I think the whole movie doesn't suffer from it at all.
No,
it doesn't. Nothing's bad here.
Worth the watch, for sure.
Go watch it in the theater while you still can. It's perfect. But the only thing that kind of bugged me personally was just being dropped in the middle of it. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just not something I'm into. I love
you kind of want a little context.
Context would be great.
Yeah,
exactly.
What are they?
Where do they come from?
Right. How did this affect the rest of the world?
Yeah.
Because in the movie, they have that circled on the whiteboard as well. So there's confirmed 3 of these things. Mm-hmm. They know there's 3, but then, yeah, I agree. I kind of would have liked to know, like, well, are there more outside of this town?
And he's trying to, like, figure out where everybody else is at in the world and who's around.
Right. He does the kind of Lord of the Rings signal flyer to see who's around, who's left, who's survived.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's... I think that could have helped a little bit if we knew. I get that's what they were going for, though. Mm-hmm. It wasn't... Yeah, like you said, it wasn't a fault. Because
it wasn't a fault at all.
They were intentionally doing this. This is just something we would have liked to see.
It totally works for the movie.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I would have done on the opposite end... Spoiler! Just don't watch reviews for movies you haven't seen. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Okay. So the ending... they kind of figure out the weakness, like Dan was mentioning earlier, with the high-pitched
with the extremely ultrasonic hearing aid sound.
Right. And Emily Blunt has a shotgun, and she's able to kill one of them while they're like their heads wide open.
Out. Yeah.
So I assume the armor didn't do its job because its brain was wide open. So if they shot that, it was affected. Kind of the thing, like if it was closed off, maybe the gun wouldn't have worked or something.
Yeah.
But so they kill one, and then they see on the security cams around the farm that the 2 are running closer. So then...
And then Emily Blunt just...
Well, her daughter turns the volume up on all the loudspeakers. It's like the beginning of Back to the Future, where they're like...
Yeah.
They're turning everything up, and they're about to go over the intercom, and then Emily Blunt goes and cut to black. And I was kind of like, oh, well, I mean, right then, I guess. It's like, I get that. I get what they were saying. Like, we figured it out. We found the weakness. Mm-hmm. Now the family will figure things out. But I still kind of would have liked to see
that. Would have been a sweet action scene.
Yeah, I was like, Emily Blunt, after just having a baby, shooting. I guess it would only take 2 shots. Maybe that's why they didn't want to do it. It wouldn't be that exciting. But yeah, basically they're just going to hold the intercom down, scare the crap out of them, and then shoot them both. Which, I don't know, I thought that would have been kind of satisfying, but less is more for this movie. Just kind of going minimal
It's a very bare-bones movie, but what you get is amazing.
Mm-hmm. I think I have to give the most amount of points to this movie for creativity and world building.
I would agree with you.
I think the character had a little bit of a plot line to follow because the deaf daughter doesn't believe that Jim loves her. Mm-hmm. She kind of feels neglected.
Yeah.
And over the course of the movie, it's him like trying to show that he appreciates her, and
it just started coming down.
It's raining a lot. But just trying to show that like Jim cares about her and appreciates her.
Exactly.
So it's kind of light though.
There's maybe 2 moments of ham in this movie.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of dignified almost, because there's one point, because the thing is about, what'd you say, like halfway, Jim actually takes the son out into the wild and shows him how to do stuff. He's like, hey, you can be fine around you can make small sounds around.
There's a river that's like running, so it makes noise.
Yeah.
So it's like you can talk a little bit here.
Yeah, small sounds are canceled out by bigger sounds. And there's one point where they're walking back and they come across a house. A man's wife is killed, and he is just distraught.
He looks up and he sees the old man.
Yeah, and so he decides to scream, knowing that's gonna
suicide.
Suicide by whatever you want to call it.
Right. And he basically looks up at Jim and is like, "I'm done." He doesn't say that, but he just kind of gives. You can tell. He gives
a good look of it.
So then he just screams, and then Jim and his son run off as fast as they can, and the creature gets him immediately.
Is it just me, or does it seem like when you do just random screaming, it just seems like it's kind of hammy? I think
there were a couple of laughs in the theater, for the screaming sections, because there's 2 big ones where characters just full on commit suicide based on the scream, and it doesn't. I don't know. It feels kind of awkward.
It's not bad at all.
I think it's realistic.
It's realistic.
If,
it's just kind of
this universe existed, that's probably how it would go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it feels kind of like when that happens, you kind of go,
yeah.
What?
It's like, you tried.
It's like that's kind of the big climax moment of the movie. If we get into the big spoiler, so if you really don't want to be spoiled,
go now.
Go away now.
Get out of here.
At the very end, you guessed it, Jim decides to sacrifice himself
for his kids. Yeah,
for both of them. So he does the scream. It was a little awkward.
A little bit.
he kind of had a voice crack in the middle of it.
I mean, considering that, I thought this was random after we watched. It was like, wait, Michael Bay produced this and it wasn't trash.
Yeah, I was like, what did he have to do with this? I don't think he touched any part of it.
He probably didn't. He's just like, have some money, John.
Yeah, he probably just, he did 13 Hours.
He did, yeah.
Which Jim was in, so maybe
they're friends.
Maybe John Krasinski and Michael Bay know each other or got money from Michael Bay, but I don't think there's a single explosion in this movie.
No.
So
no, there is. The fireworks for the distraction.
Oh, well, fireworks.
But that's the tactical choice. It's not like the typical, I'm Michael Bay, there has to be 50 explosions.
If Michael Bay actually had anything to do with this movie, they would have chucked grenades at the creatures.
It would have been military grade C4.
And after killing 3 of them, 900 would have ran in, and then they would have to
yeah, exactly,
with Gatling guns. But no, that never happened. So this by no means gives off Michael Bay movie.
Not at all.
Looking impression, but yeah. So I think the more I thought about it though after we watched it, I was like, well, if you hadn't talked at a normal volume for a year and a half, screaming would probably be kind of awkward or difficult. If you're just
painful, yeah.
Or because you're not used to using your vocal cords, it'd be kind of off. So I guess they practice by the waterfall. There's a cool scene where he takes his son to the waterfall, and it's really loud there. So he's like, "Scream, it's okay."
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so the kid gets to kind of practice using his voice. But yeah, I love those little scenes. The little scenes of
it's so little, but it's so much.
Right. I guess that's the big thing with this movie. Less is more. So
there you go.
You're getting little scenes, little moments that leave a big impact.
Little dialogue, and it all builds to a really good experience.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
and that's A Quiet Place.
That's The Quiet Place.
You should go watch it.
You should, and afterwards, I think everyone in the theater was unanimously agreeing that oh, it's nice we can just make noise,
right?
Because that movie
will make you appreciate
realizes how much sound we take for granted.
It really does.
We can just make all the noise we want, as long as you're courteous to your neighbor. But
yeah,
I was leaning towards an A- letter grade, and Dan's leaning more to a B+.
I'm on the fence between A- and B+.
Yeah.
A- because I'm pretty much in universal agreement with Drew, but B+ because the part of me that loves world building really wants to know what the hell's going on.
That's true.
But I'm just gonna tell that side of my brain to just shut up and deal with it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's fair. So we're in the 89% kind of.
Pretty much.
Could have expanded a little more, but
we're not complaining.
Yeah, we'd still give credit to how much they expanded on.
Yeah, exactly.
Plenty of credit to that, and I hope. I wanted to really specify Emily Blunt did a great performance. She just is stressed out and she's exhausted.
She was very good.
And you feel everything she's feeling. Mm-hmm. Even though I will never be a pregnant woman, I felt like a stressed out pregnant woman during that movie. Mm-hmm. Especially when she's running away. And it's like her foot steps on a nail and she somehow has to keep it in because there's a monster in the house. So you step on that little spike and you're like...
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just like, oh, it's bad enough stepping on the nail. Like that kills you. But the fact that you're like, okay, step on it and don't say anything.
I'm pretty sure that just making noise and just letting it out in that fashion is actually a really decent stress relief. I
think that's why we do it.
Yeah.
It's a natural human instinct. It's universal too. It's not just like an English thing. ow, I think is not actually a word. It's just like a...
It's just an exclamation.
It's the natural movement of the human mouth during pain. Yeah. So...
But anyway, any final thoughts?
My final thoughts was I thought that nail was going to come back because they never fix it, and it bugs me.
That's true.
Because they went up and down the stairs like 8 times after the mom stepped on it. And I was like, what if the alien's like creeping down the stairs and then it steps on that? And then it's like, that hurts. And then when it's open, that's when they shoot. I thought that was going to come into play, but
I was thinking because it said it was armored, it might just step on the nail and the nail might just go through the board.
Ooh, that would have been cool.
Right?
That would have been like a creepy, like, ooh, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, really good movie. You should check it out.
Yep.
Hopefully the people who you're watching it with are being quiet because I see that being an issue if you went to the theater with a quiet place. Is if someone talks, you're going to hear them. At least through the first half.
And silence your freaking phones.
Oh, yeah. Several times in the movie.
That's always annoying.
People were getting texts from different parts of the audience. It wasn't one in person either. Like, and in that movie, it's going to be noticeable because there's the first half of it's very quiet. The second half gets pretty loud.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it's supposed to be quiet, the music builds up quite a bit.
Right.
Really worth it, though. So... high praise! I finally saw a good movie in theaters this year.
Same.
Thank you. All right.
Anyway, I'm Den Movie Man.
And I'm Andrew.
See you in the next one.